Welcome back to Newsmaker Live, and we want to thank you again for staying tuned to this important program. Dr. Stephen King is with us. Bishop McLaurin is also in the house, and what I failed to tell you early on is that Dr. King is also a senator.
Oh yeah.
Very, very important,
Right.
very important information that I was holding back from you all along for the last what, 50 minutes or so.
Right.
But yeah, Dr. King is a senator, so involved in the legislative process as well.
Correct.
And you have, I mean, you've just been beaten on from all different angles. You have gotten a lot of flack on that too. Some people have even called for your resignation as a senator.
Oh yes, they have.
Because of the position that you've taken.
God.
Oh yes, people have even told me that the people who nominated me and the Governor General must be embarrassed by my position. But I know, well, I hadn't heard anything like that. The Governor General is a beautiful lady, and she never spoke to me about being embarrassed over my positions. And I'm quite sure she's not. You know, I mean, yes, people have called for my resignation, and I would have no problem resigning if it was appropriate for me to do so, right? But I don't think it is. I think that this is I don't think, and some people have asked me to come and apologize for the position. Why would I apologize for trying to protect vulnerable people?
Are there prostitutes in our society?
Oh, let me tell you, if you read the poverty assessment report, they will tell you there are many prostitutes in our society because there are many people that are, you know, 46% of our population is considered vulnerable, you know.
Now, my point here is, if we have a Senate and we have a House of Representatives, and there's not one person representing prostitutes on that body, who represents them? And if they're asking Dr. King to resign, then who will represent them? Who? I mean, from doing some from doing some constitutional law, you know, some years ago, I have come to understand that laws are put in place primarily to protect the minority.
Yeah, okay.
You know, because if we get our way, if, you know, the religious section, you know, and everybody else who is against prostitution gets its way, then we'll just hit down on all those smaller groups, all those more vulnerable groups in society, and
it's a good point.
What will we be left with?
It's a good point, and I think it's important for the society, for us to debate how we protect our vulnerable people. I think that's so important. I mean, you know, people have also tried to drag in other things into this debate, which I don't think we are ready to debate at this point in time, because we're talking about prostitution and that particular clause. But I mean, people have accused me of being instigated by foreign international agencies or whatever, that for donor money.
Oh, okay.
Right? I mean, those kinds of accusations have come. Well, that's ridiculous, you know. But there are lots of, in our society, I think I would love to see we move away from that kind of argument, and let us talk about the issues and the solutions. And yes, we can disagree. No, I don't agree with that solution. I think this is a better one, and we come to the right thing, the right approach. You know, I mean, I must tell you, the Governor General did tell me when she said, would I agree to be an independent senator, she did tell me, look, you know, I want you to have your independent points of view. So I think this is just one.
Interesting.
As he was speaking, I was thinking about the country not being ready socially with the social programs to actually deal with even a legalization of prostitution in St. Lucia. And the other, well, he would know better than I do, Dr. King, the medical facilities that are available, the medical aids that are there to help in an outbreak or something that goes out of line. And I'm saying, if you we always looking at that social, even to sustain the St. Lucia is so small in its economical base, so to speak. But we are finding out, even some of the research I was looking at, even in the states in America like Nevada, find themselves in much difficulty because they have legalized that prostitution, and now they're having difficulty now, and they're seeking how to curb on it, and they have a bit bigger resource base than we have by far, and then they're having difficulty. So one of the challenges too, because I'm responding to, I know you talk about the fear that we have of just letting, you know, and just get out and create a floodgate of, you know, ills and problems and And socially, St. Lucia does not have the mechanism. We cannot even enforce basic laws. I drive and I see basic laws just being violated, and we cannot even enforce it. So we have a challenge with regards to enforce the laws, and also having a social infrastructure to actually help in that. So this is one of the other arguments that's on the table too with regards to this. That we need to make sure when something is decriminalized, something is legalized, that those who are now able to spearhead this program have the sufficient resource base, funds, and whatever to help people along the line, so they could give people an alternative. Say, okay, you don't have to go that, we can do that. This is going to be there for you, and this is because you don't want to just do something go legalized, or there's a freedom, an openness to it, but then when the person needs the basic help and need that they can't get it. That's how I look at this.
Now, I asked that question in the break. Is the church, and when I say the church, I'm talking about all religious organizations, is the church barking up the wrong tree? Shouldn't the church be focused, instead on edifying its members, focusing on the demerits of engaging in such a practice, presenting the truth so that when error comes around, then its members and people in society to whom they've reached out are so grounded in that truth that they don't see prostitution or any of those ills as an option.
Well, I think the church, because you were talking about preaching to the converted, they do that every time preaching to the converted. But because of the church's mission, its mission is to, in the broader term, they call it evangelize. But it's really a transforming mission that the church has to go into the community and to change people. The fact is, it's ready to transform people from a deviant behavior, lifestyle that is contrary to the Bible, and to bring them in line with the Word of God, to bring, again, recognizing that the person has a will and a free choice. So the church has to go beyond the walls. And so while it cannot be, and one of the arguments that have been in society is the division between church and state. And there's one argument that I could argue along with it. I believe basically that there's an intermingling and intertwining between church and state that you can separate. Because the persons that are in the church, it's the person that runs in the states that runs the country in the social
But still you can't impose your religious views on the rest of the state.
No, I don't believe in that.
Oh, you shouldn't.
You should not. But I think the overall objective of the church should be one of transforming, because of the message that the church brings. Is a message of transforming, moving from one lifestyle to a lifestyle which is purported in the Bible as being the better lifestyle, that of righteousness and holiness, and that which is a challenge for even those who are converts or people of the congregation, because they themselves are not perfect, like you were saying a while ago, and they need to the development and the progress. But that's the message. So the message cannot be locked within the church. It must influence every area of society. And this is one thing I'm starting teaching now. It must touch every sphere of society. The message of the church cannot be locked within the walls.
You're watching Newsmaker Live. We'll take your calls in just a moment. Dr. King, your views on that. Is the church, I'll ask you that same question, focused on the wrong thing as far as this debate and other social debates are concerned?
Well, I think that yes, in a way. I think the church has an important role to play, because I think the church can bring a lot to the table. As I said, a lot of, you mentioned the transformation, I agree. You reach to people that other people may not be able to reach to, because there's a population of people that you will reach that I will not be able to reach in the same manner. So I think the church does bring that to bear. The church brings, as I said, even more tangible resources. But I think the church needs to, it cannot stay, as Bishop McLaurin was saying, preaching to the converted. You need to reach out there and make the people feel the power of the religion. I think that's important. Now, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to agree with you. Some people may not want your religion, and that's okay. You let them go on their way, right? So it's not an imposition, right? And I want to come back to, as we were saying, so this particular clause that we're talking about that makes the person who sells sex a criminal, right, is the one that the church has been making a real fuss about. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't touch it, right? But that particular clause, to me, is in the way of you getting out into your community and working with people who are engaged in selling their bodies so that you can do this transformation. So why would you in one breath say, don't touch the clause, and then in the other breath say, but you know something, or not in the other breath, or understand that you really have to go out there, but you're not going to touch the claws. So that to me is a complete schizophrenic disconnect. And I think, and I'm looking forward to the churches. I don't know if I'll be able to convince them, I hope I can, but I'm looking forward to the brave church that's going to step up and say, you know something, hey, we're going to go out there. And you know something, you see this clause? Y'all should remove that, because that is stopping us from doing God's work. You know, because, like I said, how do you legally work with people who are criminals?
And engaging continually in criminal activity.
How can you do that? To me, you're putting, it is something, first of all, you're not respecting the law, right? And that's a wrong message to send, right? And therefore, you obviously realize that this law is not a right law, it's an unjust law. If it's an unjust law, it needs to be removed. And then to argue that it's a sin, so keep the law. But as we've already said, sin and crime are not the same, they're not synonymous. So why does that argument keep on coming back? So when I hear some of the churches argue, I say, but guys, to me, you all are not coming to grips with what is really fundamentally important, which is transformation. And if we're going to transform, we have to transform that law too.
Can we pull that law out? Will the church be affected if that law is withdrawn, removed? How will the church be affected?
I don't think the church necessarily will be affected, but I think what would happen is the church sees that as a legalization and giving a free-for-all approach, and not really, and giving license to that which they think is something that is wrong, fundamentally wrong. So you find the church will not endorse removing it because they really feel it's fundamentally wrong, and the Bible speaks strong against it.
You're watching Newsmaker Live. We invite you to stay tuned, and we also want you to call in and participate in this debate. We'll take a break right now. When we come back, we'll be taking your calls and continuing our discussion with Dr. King and Bishop McLaurin. Stay with us.